Everybody. It's 9:30 on the East Coast, 6:30 on the West Coast. That must mean it's time for your Calamity Jane live stream. James, how are you doing on this wonderful evening?
I'm doing great. How are you over there?
I am busy as a one-legged man in a butt-kicking contest.
Oh my gosh, that's a pretty nice that's a nice, interesting and sad visual all at the same
Well,
time.
it's one of my grandfather's old idioms, and also replace butt with a less
Yeah.
PG term. But
Gotcha.
yes, it is. It's one of my favorites. I love it.
Credit to your grandfather. That's a nice one.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
I'm gonna try to adopt that. I don't know if I have to pay a licensing fee or not, but I'd
It's
like to.
fine. I'll have my people get in contact with your people, and I'm sure we can work out something that's equitable for both of us.
Okay, cool, cool.
Yeah.
Well, for tonight, I was gonna pick up where last week in our exciting episode, which
Oh, brother. Yeah.
for our tens of viewers, we were talking about Spider-Man, and really, you went on a pretty big rant about how you haven't seen it yet, but you don't like the basic notion behind it and everything like that. We went into it like it's
Yeah.
just fun
Oh,
to
yeah.
hear
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
your opinions and all that stuff, because I enjoy the movie. Anyway, just fast forward to this week, I did eventually Venmo you a movie ticket. I don't know if you saw that or not, but so hopefully, when you get some time, whenever you get a chance to see it, then you could properly vent for even more once you've seen it, and then you can really pick on scenes and stuff like that. So that'd be kind of fun to discuss at some point.
We're looking
Um,
at. We're not. I mean, I am. I can show you my calendar. I'm wall to wall for the rest of the week.
See,
So it's looking. It's looking like Sunday is the next opportunity. So
at the rate it's going, it might already be on direct to video. Might be on streaming at that point. I don't know. Then yeah, we'll reserve we'll just
yeah.
reserve the discussion to when you can see it.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
I'll share my screen and we'll go into more stuff. But this week I did want to touch on this just briefly.
Mm-hmm.
So Disney Plus is now streaming Boba Fett. Now I know you're anti Star Wars too,
Yep.
but we should go into this as well.
All right. I have no opinions on Star Wars, so the rant will be less exciting. I mean, I have a lot of opinions about
Yeah.
Star Wars. I have no opinions about this show. I don't know anything
Oh
about this
yes.
show. Yes.
Yeah. Well, not yet. Yes. Yeah. You don't have any. Yeah. Fair enough. All right. So I'm gonna share my screen. We'll go
Okay.
back to attempting to draw more Sally O'Flanagan stuff.
Okay.
There we
I
are.
will say I appreciate bringing back Tamora Morrison. I liked him in the prequel movies, and I'm glad to see that they're keeping consistent with that character.
Cool. Now, again, I at least we try to be spoiler free in this, so I'm not going to give any plot points away for Boba Fett or anything like that here as
Mm-hmm.
we talk. It's still pretty new. We're early in week 2 of it. But my general feeling, and maybe this is what you and I are both kind of come to terms with as we get older. We're no longer the kids watching it. But for me, my basic issue with the Boba Fett show is some characters. Well, okay, wait. Let me pause for a second. Let me reset real quick. I am doing a mouth pack for Sally right now.
Yes, I see that. Yeah, yeah.
I'm going to add a couple more poses tonight for this, and then my intention is to do a 3/4 pose, like kind of like this on this point of view, like this, where you can see kind of a perspective or whatever.
Yeah.
But okay, so that's out of the way. Okay, so with Boba Fett, and this is something I think that kind of a lot of entertainment sort of there's this temptation to do this, but Boba Fett to me growing up was a mysterious character, this mysterious figure that seemed foreboding every time he came on screen, which is very limited
Mm-hmm.
amount of screen time, but it allowed me and other friends to have to concoct like ideas like what's this character about, like where did he get like the rumors about the Mandalorian armor, that's commonplace now. Like where did he come from, what's all this stuff, he still seems so dangerous, but the problem now is we have a show that's chronicling his exploits, and it's sort of the mysteries is kind of dissipating. It's like now he's not as interesting anymore.
Mm-hmm.
And it feels like that's a trend I see a lot, where you take a really cool character, and part of the coolness of the character is the mystery part. You don't want, I feel like when you're creating a character or you're designing a character, sometimes less is more.
Sure.
You want them to have just enough to keep the audience kind of guessing about them, And right now, I feel like I'm getting enough now to where I feel like I have less respect for Boba Fett than I
Mm,
did as a
interesting.
villain or as a bad guy.
Right. Are they maintaining this notion that he's an like? Are they trying to turn him into an anti-hero? I mean, because he's the protagonist of the show, it's
Yes,
hard to have
it
your
is.
villain as a long-term protagonist.
Yeah, I don't. It does feel like he's kind of being turned into an anti-hero. Yeah, a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
But again, I'm trying to avoid doing any spoilers, especially you haven't even seen it yet. And I don't know if you ever will,
No, I
because
won't.
other
Yeah, we'll
it's a
just
whole other,
yeah.
discussion here about Star Wars. But so far, I guess what I'm saying is the production is great as usual. The visuals are terrific, but it is Tatooine. After a while, it gets kind of old. At least for me, I'm tired of seeing blue and sand all the time, the same bland sand and same buildings after a while. But it's okay. I'm sure they'll figure out something to get off world. But yeah, so far I'd have to say Mandalorian is kind of the bar that's been set. And I don't know if Boba Fett's hitting that bar for me as a
Mm-hmm.
viewer.
Mm-hmm.
But again, I may not be the audience that the show is built for, because I think like younger audiences like who don't have didn't have the same amount of time spending with the character don't have that same attachment to the character at all. Like Boba Fett's just another cool character, and now seeing a story unfold with Boba Fett is fun for a younger audience. I think they
Mm-hmm.
don't have the same built up, like wondering about the character at all like we did. Um, I'm throwing you into the buses as an old fogey like myself, but you are younger than me, so maybe you straddle a different thought process with when it comes to these characters.
I don't know. I mean, I do like shouting at clouds, so I don't know how young I really am. My feelings on Star Wars are basically my feelings on Marvel movies. It's just corporate junk that's just regurgitated over and over again with the same basic formula. I
Mm-hmm.
watched the first two um, episodes of The Mandalorian when it premiered, and it wasn't for me. I mean, sure, you can put blasters in it, you can put Mandalorian armor in it, you can put assassin droids in it, but just because it has the basic accoutrements of Star Wars doesn't make it Star Wars. And also, one of the larger problems with modern Star Wars is it lost the whimsy and reverence to silliness that the other ones had. I mean, even Empire Strikes Back, which was a dark story,
Mm-hmm.
there was a lot of silliness in it, from the Minox inside the space worms to C3PO's and R2's antics to um, to a lot of other things. Um, it just doesn't. To me, it's so self serious and it's so um, generic. There's nothing really that comes across to me, right? That feels unique or different. Um, it's a space western, which has been done to death. It's
Mm-hmm.
basically a lone wolf and cub storyline, which is fine, I guess. Um, but I don't know. It just didn't appeal to me, and that's fine. People are allowed to like things that I don't like, and I'm not telling them to. But it's just not what I'm looking for.
Yeah.
And I was assuming that the Book of Boba Fett would basically be along those same lines. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
at the end of the day, the only thing that interested me about Star Wars was the Skywalker storyline, Luke
Mm-hmm.
and Leia and Vader and by extension Obi-Wan, right, and Qui-Gon and that kind of stuff. That's the story that I was interested in, and that was the story that George Lucas wanted to tell, right? His original plans, in as much as they existed for his version of 7, 8, and 9, were still about the Skywalker family.
Uh-huh.
But J.J. Abrams got a hold of it and just turned it into his usual mystery box nonsense.
Yeah.
Um,
Sadly. Yeah.
you know, um, and for the audiences home, I'm not a huge J.J. Abrams booster. I mean, he's done a few interesting things, but by and large, I find his stuff to be not good. Um, but that's a separate conversation. But
That's a different cloud you need to yell at, Eric.
yeah, yeah, it is. I mean, I have a lot of clouds that I need to yell at. I don't know how I have time to do anything actually. There's so many clouds. And I appreciate John Favreau and what's the guy?
Filoni.
What's that?
Dave David Filoni.
Yeah, Filoni. Yeah, I appreciate that they were trying to bring it back to basics a little bit and tell a more focused story and kind of go back to the traditional grungy world that Lucas created for Star Wars.
Mm-hmm.
It's just not what I'm looking for anymore. It
Mm-hmm.
just it doesn't have the childlike whimsy that I liked. And Baby Yoda, fine, whatever.
Yeah,
But I don't know. Baby Yoda didn't appeal to me. So
not at all. No, no interest at all in that, huh?
no, none whatsoever.
Um, yeah, for me, Mandalorian kind of hit all the notes that I was kind of wanted to see in the movies. I don't know if I agree with you with the movies and lacking. Well, maybe I'm taking your comment to an extreme, but to me there was humor in the final three in these most recent three movies, especially with Luke reprising his, Mark Hamill reprising his role and being kind of a curmudgeon. There were some moments that were funny. I found there were some that were kind of a little amiss, but they tried to be humorous with it.
Right,
I
right.
thought that part was there, but I I I do feel like they lost their way, and again, we could fault J.J. Abrams for that. I'm not sure because there were three. Well, there was two directors total, right? There was J.J. who did the first, and the middle was I can't
Ryan
remember.
Ryan Johnson, yeah.
Yeah, who did a great movie, Knives Out, which was an excellent movie, right?
And even better, Brick. Brick is one of my top five favorite movies of all time, actually.
Good. Okay, is that recent or I never
Oh
heard of it?
no, no, Brick was back in the early aughts.
Okay.
It's a neo noir set in an American high school, starring Joseph Gordon-Levitt,
Oh, okay.
and it's phenomenal. Johnson invented his own crime lingo for the show, for the movie, and you basically have to watch it two or three times to understand everything that the characters are saying because the dialogue in typical noir fashion comes at you at a million miles an hour.
Mhm.
And there's all of these insular terms that make sense within the context of the film, but you come into it not knowing any of that lexicon. And so you kind of have to watch it a couple times to fully appreciate everything that's going on. And I love that. I really dug it. And it's a really strong story. It's a great noir story. It
Mhm.
really shows what a talented actor Joseph Gordon-Levitt is. And it's a shame he's not really done more. He kind of had all this promise, and people still love him when he's on screen. But he didn't reach the level of stardom that I really expected that he was going to.
What? So yeah, he was kind of cast in a few minute movies in the odds. I mean, Dark Knight 3. I think I thought for sure he would just blow up after that one, especially. I mean, but
Mm-hmm.
he always has done good stuff. It seems like I can't think of anything where I was like, wow, this movie was stinky. But yeah, that is kind of interesting. You know what it is? It might be there's a lot of good talented actors out there
Yeah,
too.
yeah. No, it's just one
Yeah,
of those things that sometimes you're in the right place in the wrong time, and that's just
yeah,
and that
yeah.
But in any case, that was a complete aside. Yeah, Ryan Johnson wrote and directed The Last Jedi, which was highly divisive, and
Yeah.
he wrote a treatment for the final movie, which after The Last Jedi was so divisive, they threw away completely. And J.J. Abrams and Lawrence Kasdan came back in and wrote an entirely new draft that was trying to right the ship, quote unquote.
Mhm.
And it was even worse than The Last Jedi because at the end of the day, they didn't really have a plan. And
Which
my
is terrible. It's just like, how do you do that? How do
Yeah,
you get the car keys to the Lamborghini and not know where to drive or what to do? I mean, I don't know.
how to get it into first gear. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, what happened? Like, I thought they bought it from George Lucas. And I thought George Lucas, I'm sure, had a stack of notes to hand
And they
off to.
threw it all away.
Oh my
Yeah,
gosh.
Lucas is actually on record saying like, "Look, I had a treatment for these movies. I mean, not a treatment necessarily, but I had an idea of what I wanted the story to be, and I had a meeting with J.J. Abrams, and he said, "No, we're going to go in another direction," and then that was it. That was the end of the conversation.
I get that directors want to kind of put their mark on things, but sometimes you kind of have to stick with if it's a good idea. lose the ego and just use and use it, especially if you're getting the blessing from a previous director that's much more successful than you are. Why not? You don't have to. You still, I mean, I'm sure they would have figured out something to give proper credit. But now J.J. Abrams is credited as you and I both pretty much associated with him. Like he kind of helped ruin Star Wars a little bit. So now,
Yeah.
what would you rather have had? I'd rather have at least tried to go with the creator stuff.
Well,
Yeah,
I mean, in all fairness, it's Star Wars is a hard property because
yeah,
the fans have
yeah,
turned it into a religion. I mean, it's one of
yeah.
the reasons why George Lucas dumped it. Right? It's like I
He
don't
was
want
over.
to make movies for these people. They're horrible. Right?
He was over.
um,
Yeah,
and so to a certain extent, I understand J.J. Abrams' position because within the religion of Star Wars, Lucas has become the Antichrist. Right? And the fans were looking for Jesus to come back down on heaven and defeat the Antichrist and throw him into the pit for eternity. Um, and so, he had this really unenviable task. I mean, even if J.J. Abrams loved Lucas's treatment, and I don't know if he did or not, he couldn't use it because the second the fans found out that Abrams was working on an idea from George Lucas, he would have been branded, a traitor to the faith as well, right?
mm-hmm.
So it was just it's because Star Wars fans have become so dogmatic in their fandom that it's a really challenging property to work on, pure and simple.
Yeah. I mean, that's the whole victim of your own success type of thing. I think that's kind of going on with it.
Sure.
Yeah. I mean, and even for me, like I was a huge fan, but then I kind of then I kind of fell out during the first three. As a fan, I was like, these are the Jar Jar Binks stuff that wasn't working for me. I was so angry. Then of course the conspiracy theories and all that stuff on the internet about Jar Jar Binks and maybe having
Yeah.
Lucas's play at the whole classic fool, the fool playing everybody and then really being the bad guy. It I woulda coulda shoulda. I wish I would have seen that, and I was like, oh Lucas, I was wrong as a fan. Like it's like I was wrong. You should have done that, and like if that was really the case, but we'll never
We'll
know
never
because
know. Right, exactly. I
the
mean, I
best.
think it's possible because, Lucas is an absolute devotee to Joseph Campbell.
Yeah, 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 and I thought for sure that's what he was trying to do, and then when fans, including myself, were upset with Jar Jar Binks and why did he put him in here and all that stuff in the movies, then he himself kind of bowed to the pressure of the religion of the fans, and then
Yeah, yeah.
went that direction that he did.
Well, there was
Um,
there any. I mean, there were odd missteps too.
yeah.
Like the weird voices. Like rather than have the aliens speak in their native tongues, like he did in the original trilogy, why the heavy accented English was just an odd misstep to me, right?
Are you talking
Um,
about the aliens at the beginning of
well,
Phantom Menace?
yeah, the Gungans and the Nemoidians, right?
Oh,
Both of
yeah,
them
yeah,
had weird accents. Oh, I love that. Giving her a missing tooth. That
yeah.
makes her even cuter. I
I
love it.
know. I was gonna say, time for some experimentation, and
Mm-hmm.
I'm with you. I think I like the missing teeth too.
Mm-hmm. Not too many because then she looks.
No, no, I was just gonna do one.
Yeah, yeah,
And it's probably gonna be there on the side, on one side or the other. But yeah, I kind of like that too.
yeah. It makes her look cute and it makes her look youthful.
Yeah, yeah, for sure. Yeah, I didn't. I thought, but Lucas always had. Well, he had British accents in there, and I think they're kind of more of a staple
Mm-hmm.
um, for uh, that didn't work out right. For his movies, so I didn't have an issue with the other accents. At least it didn't stick out to me, but yeah, he did get some flack, right?
Yeah, oh, yeah. He got a lot of flack. I mean, just accused of being a racist. Stereotypical Jamaican accents, stereotypical Asian accents, that kind of thing.
Yeah, I remember that.
And
I
I
think
don't. Yeah.
yeah, the Asian community was upset with them, saying, "Why did you put us as bad guys in these roles for the aliens and all that kind of stuff?" I do vaguely remember something like that.
And I don't know Lucas, obviously, but I get the sense that it was just tone deaf. I mean, it was just
Yeah, I think
completely,
so too.
yeah. It wasn't intentionally. It doesn't change the fact that the voices were awful. I mean, Racist or not, they were bad accents.
Yeah, yeah. For some reason, yeah, he had no problem with the I mean, with the British accents, they worked out just fine in all of his movies. I think. I mean, I think we as audience members are accustomed to just hearing them. So maybe that's part of it for an English speaking audience, you know.
Well, I also
But
think too that he didn't force people to speak in their native in different accents, right? Like Harrison Ford and Carrie Fisher and Mark Hamill all spoke in American accents, and
mm,
then Alec Guinness spoke in a British accent, and Liam Neeson spoke in Scottish, and Ewan
uh,
McGregor spoke in his Irish accent. He didn't do
yeah,
accents,
I didn't
right?
even think about that. That's true. Yeah, they all kind of spoke their relaxed, their normal everyday cadence. It felt like, right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. I mean, even Samuel Jackson. I mean,
Yep.
he just spoke like Samuel L. Jackson. He did the Samuel L. Jackson accent, right?
Yeah. So, but I mean, when he cast these other characters to do the voices, I mean, I guess you're saying that they actually tried to put on a forced accent.
Yeah, and that was what's so weird. And this I didn't realize, I guess, but apparently people think that Watto was racist, like an Italian stereotype.
Oh, really?
Yeah,
Okay.
and which is, or I don't remember, maybe it was a Jewish stereotype. I don't know, but it was apparently there's some sort of stereotype that he was representing, and I'm like, okay, I guess, but we're getting, it's getting to the point where, like, okay, I guess you say that this was racist because you say it's racist, but I mean, I've never heard of this, right? And not that
Mhm.
I'm an expert in bigotry or anything, but I
Yeah,
don't know.
sure.
At some point, you have to wonder how much of this is legitimate and how much of it is you just looking to be offended by something. I don't
Yeah,
know. I mean, and maybe he was trying to be racist. I have no idea, but I just
yeah,
don't get the sense that he was.
yeah. I don't think. Yeah, there's a difference between being a racist and being ignorant.
Yeah,
Uh,
and I think that that's what really was going on.
yeah, and I think hopefully, I mean, I didn't catch on. I didn't really notice it as much. I don't know. I didn't really read any of Lucas's reactions to all that stuff. I just remember reading snippets of it in random headlines, entertainment headlines, stuff like that. But hopefully, he's not getting raked over the coals of that anymore. But that could have very well been a reason why he wanted to, like you're saying, he just want to step away. He's like he kind of just got out, just got over it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, and I think it was a Phantom Menace was a misstep. I liked Phantom Menace more than I liked any of the other Star Wars movies since then.
Mm-hmm.
It was still my least favorite of Lucas's Star Wars. Um, and whether, I understand his intention to, like, Anakin becomes a troubled individual very, very quickly, and Lucas wanted to show a period where Anakin was um, still an innocent, right? And in his mind, the only period of Anakin's life where he was an innocent is when he was a young child. So I get that. I get that instinct. And also going back to the whole Campbellian myth thing, the virgin birth concept is incredibly important to the monomyth, which is what he was trying to experiment with the prequel trilogy.
Mm-hmm.
And so the virgin birth aspect of it, you needed to have a young child. So there was multiple reasons for him to go that young. But the problem is that children are hard to work with, and I don't think Lucas directs children particularly well. And so I think that kind of bit him a little bit too, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, the poor Jake Lloyd. I don't even think he got any more work after that.
No, and this is this is one of the reasons, like he had a nervous breakdown, if my understanding is correct. He basically had to be hospitalized for a while because you have all this army of militant fans basically blaming him for ruining one of the biggest franchises in movie history, right?
Mm-hmm.
How do you, as a child, how do you parse that? How do you live with yourself, I mean, even though it's not your fault, right?
Mm-hmm.
Um, and so yeah, after, I mean, honestly, by the time Revenge of the Sith was coming out, I was already souring on Star Wars. Not even so much the movies, but the fandom was really making it unappealing to me.
Mm-hmm.
And it frankly it's only gotten worse over the years.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I can understand that there was a little bit of burnout because of that. But with all that being said, yeah, I think it definitely needs. There was something about Lucas's touch on films. Even in the bad ones, there were some elements that were still there that were very, I don't know, Lucasy.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
That aren't there with the current crop of stuff. Although, again, I will go back. Mandalorian seemed to have some of that. Um, and I know Lucas is involved, but I have to credit Filoni, and I guess I don't know if I get the name right, but
Dave
it seems,
Filoni and yeah, John
yeah,
Favreau. Yeah.
yeah, I think
Well,
that, yeah, Favreau, naturally, he's a great filmmaker with all of the stuff he's done. So
mm-hmm. Well,
yeah.
Lucas has given, as far as I know, has given the Mandalorian his blessing. He
Oh, really?
actually, yeah, he actually was on set for at least one episode for filming.
Okay.
And my understanding is, my understanding is, it's actually loosely based on a TV show idea that Lucas had after the end of the prequel trilogy, which was about bounty hunters. And so
Okay.
the Mandalorian is a Lucas's initial idea was the jumping off point for what ultimately became the Mandalorian.
That's cool. So
Mm-hmm.
there was a little, yeah. So I mean, even a little bit of a hint is kind of nice, for sure. Yeah.
But
Uh, I'm gonna take a pause from the conversation here, just kind of
yeah,
discuss it.
I really like the missing tooth thing. It's really good.
Cool. Yeah, let's keep it.
Mm-hmm.
The only thing I don't like, I'm not happy with their smile with the missing tooth. It just, I
Mm.
don't know. I Any thoughts from you as a viewer looking at it? You're fine with it, huh? I like it great here. I think she looks absolutely cute here. Then right here, I guess it'll work. Maybe I'm being too hard on it. I don't know.
Well, is there any reason why it can't also be red?
I mean, I did have it red before. Let me go back to red.
Okay.
While we're talking, I went red. I went back to black. I don't know. Let's go back to red real quick. We'll cycle through again.
Yeah, I mean the red when it's red, it doesn't bother me.
Does it bother you?
No, no, it doesn't. And I know it's not technically accurate, but you know it.
Yeah,
You don't usually see the inside of someone's mouth anyway. It's a
yeah,
cartoon cheat, right? So
yeah,
yeah,
exactly. Yeah. But even with her red gap, it was kind of bugged me a little bit. But you know what? Hey, if you're if you're if you're digging it, I mean, I dig it again. I dig it right here. I just don't. I'm not as happy with it here. But I'm not sure what the solution is here.
yeah,
For me, it's just a personal thing for me. But if you're happy with it, that's good enough because we're
yeah.
both. So let's I'll move on with
Okay.
it. I think yeah, this is a kind of a happy accident as we're just going like yeah,
Yeah, yeah.
this works. I think this works well. Overall, it works great. I'm psyched. But cool. I will keep moving on. I know we're kind of winding down with our stream, but I'll keep moving on a little bit and start making the 3/4 post. But for next week, I think I'm going to move on to something else completely.
Mm-hmm.
But that's for another time, another place. Well, probably the same place actually.
Well, you know.
Yeah. Yeah. So, but in the end, though, yeah, I want to talk to you about Boba Fett and just the general feeling is I don't feel like you're missing anything.
Hmm.
And a big indicator, and again, maybe it's because your friends have given up, is trying to convince you to watch it. I don't think anybody's told you about it really or raving about it, right? I mean,
No, no one has said anything to me about it one way or the other.
yeah. So I'm
Yeah.
curious. I haven't even looked at anything online to see how people have received Boba Fett, if they like it or what.
I mean
But it's
this.
great. The actor is terrific. I like
Yeah,
him.
yeah,
Yeah, he's great. He's
yeah.
great. Yeah.
The sense that I get from my friends is like if you ask them, "Do you like Star Wars?" They go, "Oh yeah, sure." But if you go, "What was the last thing you watched?" I'm like, "I don't know, the season finale of Mandalorian." I don't know. I think that there's burnout from more casual fans. A part of me feels like the only people who are still obsessed with Star Wars are you know, the dogmatic ones, the religion ones. I
Mm-hmm.
think most people are sort of happy to be casual fans of Star Wars, buying the Baby Yoda plushies and the Porg plushies
Mm-hmm.
and all of the merchandising stuff, which is that again that you have to give Lucas credit for that. He knew that Star Wars was going to be incredibly franchisable and
Mm-hmm.
merchandisable, and he took advantage of that. And everything that has been done with the franchise since then, even after Disney bought it, is, owes a debt to Lucas because he's the one who saw the potential in franchising and marketing the merchandising the brand. So
Yeah, yeah,
yeah.
yeah. He was a visionary with that. That's for sure.
Mm-hmm.
It's changed our it's changed. It was a huge influence on pop culture, but there's no doubt about it. So
Yeah. But oh well, we're at 30 minutes, so it's a pretty decent stopping point. I feel like. So we'll be back next week at the usual time. You can find us on Patreon if you go to calamityjane.rocks. It'll take you right to our site. Please consider being a patron, helping us make this thing. We're also on Facebook and YouTube, and presumably you know that already because you're watching the stream in some capacity. Otherwise, stay safe out there, everybody, and we'll see you next week.
bye, everybody.
All
Take
right.
care.
Good night. And we're clear.